Bada bing, bada boom. What's up, motherfuckers?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm, we're gonna stick with the jersey.
Dude,
Um,
why not, man? It's in our blood anyways.
that's the rumor. Rumor has it we're assholes from the east, masquerading as Thunder fans. Hey, so let's talk about some stuff you sent me. I think this is fun.
All right.
Um, you know, whatever you can say what you want about the Bleacher Report. At least they have fun discussions. All right, guys. So potential starting fives for the next season. Which team
Jared.
improved the most? All
All
right.
right. This is what's
I'm
great,
going to
man.
run through the teams real quick and then we'll talk starting fives after we go through the teams.
All right.
Memphis Grizzlies, Phoenix Suns, Golden State Warriors, OKC Thunder, and Houston Rockets. So the argument for the Grizzlies is that Marcus Smart is a better fit than what's his name down in
What's up,
Houston
George?
right now? Brooks.
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks. All right. So Phoenix, Bradley Beal is a better fit than I don't even know who they had kind of running that, but
Chris Paul, bro.
Chris Paul, yeah, and I guess it was like Bridges last year before they
Yeah.
got
Josh.
KD, but it's kind
Josh
of like been a
Giddey.
revolving door, But
Yeah.
okay, and then Chris Paul is better than who's starting? Poole. Okay,
Well, I mean, yes, Poole, I guess. It was Poole and yeah, I guess it was Poole.
all right. The Thunder are adding Chet Holmgren. True add. Where these other teams are like, there's a little subtraction to go into that addition. The Thunder
Yeah.
are just purely adding Chet. All right. And then the Houston Rockets are adding Van Fleet and Brooks. All right. There you go. I went through all the logistics of it. Let's talk.
All right. What I love about this is what you just said at the end there was all these other ones have been minusing out people and adding people. So like Memphis with Marcus Smart, that's the only difference there. Bradley Beal is the only difference for the Phoenix Suns. Although you could say Josh is a difference there, Okogie, but really it's
Was he not with them at the
Bradley Beal.
last year at any point? I thought Okogie was with them, but I
I,
got a lot of respect for his game. He's a very good player.
sure. But that's Bradley Beal is the difference there. Then you got Chris Paul for the
Jared George, what's up, guys?
yeah, what's up, guys? You got Warriors, you got Chris Paul difference, and then you've got Houston Rockets, which Van Fleet and Dylan Brooks. But the only team here that is adding a player that's on this from a draft, and that's it, a rookie essentially, is the Thunder. And the only they're saying is that they're betting that the Thunder's starting other four guys around Chet are going to highly improve. Because if you look at everything people have been writing, they're saying that they wouldn't be surprised if Chet comes in and he's not, playing 25, 30 minutes a game to start off. He's coming in playing 18 and 17 or whatever, like just coming in and getting his legs underneath him. So if that's the case, then we're talking about the up factor here. It's being Josh Giddey, it's being Shea getting better, it's being Dort getting better, and Jalen Williams getting better. So
Poku is going to start over Dort. What do you think about that, Dave? For the first starting of the year, lineup of the year.
um
Oh, I guess
I've
he's saying the best. I'm sorry, not the
okay, the
first.
best.
The
Like
best.
I think the best starting lineup, I'll be honest with you, is with Jay Will out there. Jay Will absorbing the charges next to Chet blocking. I think you could do a lot of good with that. Poku, I'm a big fan of Poku. So if he found his way to be better, more effective than Jay Will out there, and he took Jay Will's spot like that, then I'm cool with it. But I feel like Jay Will is the number one big man coming off the bench right now, and that's his spot to lose because of what he did last year. Um, but I do think that if Lou Dort is going to lose his starting position, I want to make sure this is clear. It's either because he's got injured or we're trading him because we're not going to tank his value by moving him to the bench. And I don't think that that's something that the Thunder would do at this point. They would trade him in a package deal and get as much as they could for him rather than move him to the bench.
Dort might get passed by Case and Wallace this year.
I know. We don't know what's going on. I mean, we don't.
Dort could be a 6 man of the year candidate.
But
He might be free to get 15 shots a night off the bench.
but my point though about moving Dort to the bench is that like what team is going to pay $20 million a year for a bench player? And that's where I have to say it's like if the Thunder if this whole idea that
Well,
we've
here
built off of what
you're
Sam
right.
Presti does.
You're right, Dave. But the idea would be that if he increases value off the bench by continuing to get a good amount of shots, that teams could be like, "Whoa, he played well as a starter. He got better as a bench player, and we can move him back into a starting role." Yeah, you're right. It's an expensive contract for a bench player, but I imagine that there's 29 teams in the league that he could start for. If he gets passed by Cason Wallace and he's not starting for us, I don't think teams will look at him and be like, "Oh, well, we're going to keep him on the bench. He's just too good."
I'm sorry, but like again,
You don't
I
move Eddie Jones to the bench before Kobe, you trade him.
well, that's the point. You get a first rounder out of it. Like and I keep going back to this is that like Dort this could be his last year for the Thunder if he does not get to that 20 points a game. It just if he doesn't make that increase of points and being more effective at the rim, then this is his last year. And what we can get for Dort will be quite outstanding because I do believe that Cason Wallace is more ready to go in the position that he is. And as the year gets weaned down, we'll start seeing Cason more often in that third and fourth quarter than Dort. And I think that will just be the progression that will happen. It will be
If
slight, it'll be calm, and it'll be just one of those things that we start seeing what Cason can do. And if he's shooting 40% or even 35% from the 3-point range and he's finishing effectively at the rim, and his defense is like that straight up wolf in him, like then we're talking about a situation that yeah, Cason just outplayed Dort in 6 months. But that's if Dort doesn't get any better. That's if Dort doesn't get any more effective. And that's
okay,
if Dort doesn't finish better
let's
at this
say
hole.
Dort is essentially the same defender as he was last year.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, what percentage of defender do you think Cason will be of Dort his rookie year? Like, do you think he could be
Oh
half the defender, 75% of the defender?
man. Um,
Like, I think he's going to be
what
close to
Dort brings,
75% of what Dort brings.
I think he'd be closer to 50% because if Dort can teach Cason how to
Right.
that to create that foul on that
Which will
screen,
happen.
then that is something that will up Cason's value
Right.
right away. But that's something that
Cason's footwork and his positioning makes it really hard for teams to set good screens on him.
yeah.
If he understands how to sell an illegal screen, which he will over time. Okay, so I think, yeah, I agree though. If he doesn't know that skill, but I do think that he's going to learn that. But how much better of a 3-point shooter does Cason need to be, or now finisher inside the arc, to make up for that lack of, say, 25 to 50% of the defensive effort Dort brings? And I think that's kind of where Coach Degnault's going to have to look at things and just say, like you're saying in that fourth quarter situation, right? Are you going to put Dort on the court, or are you going to put someone that you trust their shot a little bit more? And I think that trust in shot, and then saying, okay, he's not quite as good of a defender, but we're going to lean defense more last year by improvements from all the positions. And that's how we're going to ride
And
through fourth quarters.
Coach D has proven that he doesn't mind going offense defense for the last 8 minutes of the game. Like we get a stop and play, we can go offense. Sweet, we're gonna put Cason out there. On defense, we're gonna put Dort back out there. Because at this point, I for me, I look at this. This is why I think it will take Cason some time to get to Dort's level. Is because if you look at offensive charges and what Jay Will brings to that value, a lot of people don't really understand the value of what Dort does with those charges. And that's what they are essentially is moving screens that become going the other way. And I look at that and I think that the more value that people see in charges, the more value Dort will have in those offsetting screens. When that happens, then Dort's value, of course, is going to go flying up. And if that's the case, then yeah, you take Cason and you say, Dort, you know what, $20 million a year is good enough for you to come off the bench. You're a specialized defender right now. And that's what he'll become. Because
Our bench would be
if
goddamn
Cason,
elite.
yeah, if Cason is proving that he deserves the ball in his hand for 18 to 20 points a game, and you're looking at his defense and saying, damn, that's good defense. And then you're looking at Dort and saying, Dort is at 14 points a game, like his defense is elite. Yes, that's when you move Dort down.
But
But it has to be so evident that Kaysen is going to be an 18 to 20 point player a game.
listen, I'm with George. Like, I think George's gonna have an amazing year. I just think Kaysen's gonna have a better year. And I think one thing we need to look at is like young Kentucky guards that are drafted, 10 to 12. Like, you can't say we're gonna limit Kaysen's ceiling because we're so committed to Lou Dort. Because to me, Kaysen could be a top 5 guard in the NBA. Like, a lot of people look at him and they're like, oh, he's not even a top 3 guard in his class.
Yeah.
Well, they said the same shit about Shea.
And
Like, they said the same thing about Devin
J-Dub.
Booker, Jamal Murray. Like, guards from Kentucky, you can bet on. And I feel like we don't want to find ourselves in a spot where it's like Kaysen has to go somewhere else to be successful.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Dort's the type of player that he would say, like, I'm so committed to being a starter that I would rather go somewhere else. And that's a ton of money for a bench player. But the best part is, at this stage, you're paying Kaysen rookie scale money. So it's, you don't like, if you don't have to think too much about it. But you're right. It really comes down to devaluing a player. Like,
that's the thing. If we're going to devalue a player with the way that Sam Presti has brought up, you bring a value to
I don't want to face Dort on the other side of it.
No,
but that's my problem.
How many times has Sam Presti traded a player that to a contender of sorts that we have to contend against? Like, that makes it impossible for us to contend.
He avoided sending Steven Adams to Memphis, but he ended up there anyway.
Yeah, but he got quite an offer, I thought, for Steven Adams, and he ended up sending him to the Pelicans. So
much for him, bro.
And again,
that was one of the people were saying that contract was untradeable, and he was almost worthless. And what we got: Kenny Hustle, George Hill, a collection of second rounders,
a first rounder, I thought, or two from two different teams. Not from the Pelicans.
There were other players, but those were the guys that really stuck it out. And I remember being like, before then, we were already in love with Sam Presti's like ability to just like, oh, throw in that player, and we don't know who that guy is, and then we fall in love with him. So when we looked at that trade, we're like, what are the names that we don't know? And then we started saying like, I bet one of these guys, we call them throw-ins, is going to become really good. Yeah. And Kenny Hustle from game 1. I mean, people didn't even know his name was Kenny Hustle back then.
Dude, they just called him the
K Rich.
Yeah, K Rich, and his hair, bro.
I'm like, all right. Like, watch out for Sam Presti when he gets names thrown in. That's why whenever like there's these guys and like all the other people were like, we're not going to keep him. We're not going to keep him. I'm kind of like, we'll see. And usually I would say the experts are right, but sometimes you get a Kenny Hustle in there and you're like, we don't know his name. There's probably no chance that he's going to stick around. But then again, who knows? And what I want to say about Kaysen, though, before we go too far, because Dave, you were really on to Kaysen in the draft time period. We were getting onto it, and like you really felt like Kaysen had the ability to be a star. Defensively, you felt like he was the best player in the draft, or at least the best guard.
Yeah,
and then.
He's so good, man.
So like, versatile. And I argued
it was just like masterpiece, dude. It was like,
I argued. I thought it was limited. I honestly.
You didn't like his height, I think is what it came down to.
I didn't like his height, and I felt like he would only be able to like be an elite defender against one position.
Sure.
But as I've studied his game and stuff, because pre-draft it's like quick stuff, but I've kind of come to this conclusion that I really think he can guard 1 through 3. He's not going to be naturally ready to guard the 3 immediately.
Kenny?
No. Kaysen.
Oh.
Yeah. But I think over time in his career, he's going to have to be able to switch on 3s. He can't just be a 1 and 2. And I think he's got the strength. He's got the wingspan. I think he's got the ability to do it over time. But maybe not like a KD, But at the same time, Marcus Smart, he can guard players that are much bigger than him. And
I don't think it's out of his, playbook to be able to say he's not going to be able to guard a 7-footer.
Yeah, look, I would say with Dort's time with the Thunder might have been numbered as soon as he signed that big contract, which you have to give his agent a ton of credit.
Sure.
But as soon as you can get a young player who can provide 80% of the production, which I'm not saying we can get that right away, but on a rookie scale contract, with the way that the Thunder's finances are going, like there's no way we can keep everybody.
No,
So,
no.
and
And that's the
Dort
thing
had a
is,
good future with the team until J-Dub. Honestly, as soon as J-Dub looked like a max level player, it was like you can't keep, Shea, Chet, Giddy, J-Dub all like at or near max
yeah,
contracts and have a guy like Dort.
yeah.
It's just
Well, and I think Giddy's going to be the next person up for a contract. And that's going to come into a big play here if you look at it, because Dort's 20 something million a year. Um, Giddy, I think he's going to get a hell of a contract when he resigns his contract, because I think this year he's going to be doing some insane things, right? But when you look at it, you'll be able to say, okay, there's the save of the $12 million or the $20 million. Like that makes sense now. Because the next year it's Chet and J-Dub that'll be the ones that are up. So you got to be starting to think about this stuff ahead of time and starting to
do you think we can
understand.
keep all four of those guys? Shea, Giddy, Chet, J-Dub?
I don't think that we can just keep all four of those guys, but I think we can keep 90% of our bench intact as well during this.
Really?
This is why. And I will say this too. I am blue in the face, man. I don't give a shit who disagrees with me. But what Sam Presti has done there, creating a team in a family atmosphere, is unlike anywhere else. And people would rather sign a contract that they make $3 or $4 million less, because the worldwide internet, right? The web, everything else that's attached to it is going to make Oklahoma City one of the top dogs in the game. Meaning that these guys are going to make jersey sales money from the NBA. These guys are going to make this, they're going to make that. I'm telling you right now, there is no doubt in my mind that people are going to take less money to stay in Oklahoma City over time, because it's better for their careers, and they're going to recognize that. The people that are around them are going to recognize that. So I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be beautiful, man.
What up, Zare? Thanks for joining us. Glad you finally caught us live for sure. Dave, so there's always been this thing around Oklahoma City Thunder fans. I will say that, and I don't mean this, disrespectfully, but most Oklahoma City Thunder podcasts have
Sure.
an inferiority complex
Sure.
where they're like, no good player will ever choose to go to Oklahoma City because, let's face it, it becomes difficult to see the benefits of Oklahoma City if you're just there all the time. You're like, well, all the cool stuff is happening on the coast, right?
Sure, man.
But at the same time, like if your mission in life is to win championships, if your mission is to become one of the greatest players to ever play in the NBA, why not go?
Bro.
Right? Why not go to Oklahoma City? Why not settle in? Let's talk about like San Antonio. And I know San Antonio is, different than Oklahoma City, but players had no problem sticking it out in San Antonio when championships were there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean that came down to different set of circumstances, I believe, with
Sure.
like injuries and stuff. But I feel like if you can give people opportunities for championships, and like we talked about how coaching staffs and all these different things, they get stripped down when they win championships. Teams win, all of a sudden bench players get Jordan Poole money and money. You get crazy cash for, bench coaches become head coaches, assistant GMs become head GMs. So yeah, you've got to find a way to have a competitive advantage in that environment.
And if you look at it and you understand exactly what the Thunder are trying to do with building a new arena, this is not the same city I left 15 years ago. It's just not. 15 years ago when I left, I thought, Oklahoma City was that place that nobody really wanted to go and be part of, and as time went on, I started realizing it wasn't. Like this is a whole new city now, man. They've got the Riverwalk, which is brilliant. They've got so many other aspects and different things to this that I love. And I get excited, man, because this is, as the city grows and gets bigger, I think it's the 20th largest city in the United States now. And as that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, less
Really? I didn't
people
know
think
that.
it's shit. Like less people think that Oklahoma City's shit. So all of a sudden, like these new people, like it doesn't take long for a city like Miami from going from like the armpits of the world to one of the greatest cities in the world. It doesn't take long for a city to do that. And that's why I keep saying Oklahoma City isn't done growing. It's a place that you want to be at because there's so much happening right now. And as teams are figuring that out, and as players are figuring that out, and as players like Shea are figuring this out and saying, oh, wait a second here, this city's getting bigger. So if I'm going to invest, I want to invest in property. I want to invest in adding space for me for like a restaurant. And I want to do this. I want to do that. All of a sudden, this becomes one of the biggest cities in the world, right? And when I say the world, I'm talking, the Americas there, where all of a sudden you have a city like Oklahoma City that just goes, and it's massive, and it's a top 10 city in the United States, right? And if that's what's going to happen here in Oklahoma, which I think is going to happen, right? Then we're sitting at a situation that's for real, that these guys are investing in not just the city, but they're investing in everything else. And if that's the case, we're talking about serious money these guys are going to be looking into. And I look at this, and for me, I have to say, I can't say that these guys aren't looking into real estate and stuff like that. And if these guys want to become rich motherfuckers, like this is how it's done. I mean, you look at Magic Johnson in LA. Like he bought real estate in LA. He did stuff that made him smart. You look at Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley was making $3 million a year from Nike. He started investing 2 million of that a year into Nike, into stock, right? And he ended up making like $50 million out of the whole thing. Okay. You can say the same thing about Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan took his money that he was making off of Nike and invested every single cent of it into Nike. So these players, they see these players doing that. And a lot of these contracts, they're designed to help these players, but how many of them get to be in a city that's growing like this? And then they start seeing people like Shea that's rolling in dough and be like, bro, how'd you make so much money? He's like, I am reinvested into the city. I reinvested into real estate. I reinvested in this. And all of a sudden, 3 or 4 of the other players are doing the same thing. And it's not about the contract anymore. And that's what's so fucking amazing about what's happening in Oklahoma City. It's not just the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's the whole city, man.
That's it, baby. That's what we're pumped about. What, 5 days now till FIBA, and I believe we've seen that growth a lot in the city from the international community becoming aware of how cool Oklahoma City is. So
yeah, dude.
This is another chance for the city of Oklahoma City to put on an international stage. You can't watch a FIBA game with Australia or Canada and not hear them say over and over and over again, Oklahoma City superstar, Oklahoma City superstar, Oklahoma City superstar. Like it's attached to their names, and these are the best players in the world right now. And we're all attached to that. It's one of those things we look back at with so much gratefulness when they released the NBA 75 greatest players. They added 25 players to the 50 greatest. I think 26 actually, but we counted it up, and the number of players that we got to see play and start their career in Oklahoma City was just unbelievable compared to how many teams out there didn't even have one player that represented their team on that list.
Mm-hmm.
And we could go through the names of the players, but really we all know them in our hearts because it was like growing up like with a family member, watching them grow up. And we all know why we're here because we know that the next round is going to be better than the first round. And that's what we believe in. You know what?
We bet on it, bro.
But I don't give a fuck. I'll go down swinging, bro.
I'll be honest with Mark and I. We started the podcast. We sat down and we are trying to figure out exactly where we were going with this. And one of the things that Mark said was he wanted to invest in the team because he felt what Sam Presti was doing was so next level. And at the only time that all we had was Shea, Dort, and a bunch of draft picks. And I kept on being like, I see the vision of where Sam wants to go with this because draft picks are king in the future. But does he have what it takes to be able to stick to it? Because we see teams like the Houston Rockets or whatever team is like, oh yes, rebuild, and all of a sudden, boom, let's spend $100 million or $150 million and get these players here. Like I was always hopeful that Sam would be able to stick to it. And now we're sitting in this position that Sam has not only stuck to what he was originally planning to, but we bet. And all you guys that decided to still watch the Thunder and I mean, literally, probably most of you guys that are on the chat that watch the Thunder every single game or most of the games, even though you knew that we sucked for 2 years. And then last year, you got a taste, man. You got a little taste, man. Right? Got your first little taste. And then it's saying, hell yeah, this is going to be good. And the thing about it is, even if we won 40 games, everybody in the Oklahoma City Thunder media that are, working for the team are like, let's calm down expectations. Let's calm down expectations. We don't want to get too excited about this next year. But that's where I feel like we're all wrong. We need to get excited about this year. We need to get pumped about this year. This year is the future of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we're going to see some great things.
What up, what up, what up, Jared?
What's up, Jared? Yeah.
Good morning.
How you doing,
How you guys
man?
doing today?
Doing good, man.
Very good.
All right. So, speaking of the future of the Thunder.
Yeah,
right.
You asked us. I'm going to ask you back, Jared. Do we get the arena improved? You're there. You get the feeling on the ground.
Well, they had the mayor on, like the sports animal in the morning. He was very, very, he's very persistent about it, and he thinks that they're not going to raise the taxes. It's going to be the same exact tax provision, so nothing changes. I mean, it's just going to be an add-on.
So like a MAPS 4 kind of thing?
Yeah, basically just MAPS 4.
Okay, cool. Because MAPS 3, all the maps have been dope. I see all the work that they did out on Stanley Draper Lake for MAPS 3. So it's going to keep going because those MAPS projects, each one has been a huge success. And that's really why we got the Thunder in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a parking lot over there that somebody will not give up. So they're trying to find out who that is so that they can talk to Prairie Surf Studios that took over Convention Center and try to get in there.
Man, you said something that took me for a loop there for a minute. You said you're listening to Sports Animal in the morning. So my family, we moved there when I was 11 years old to Oklahoma City. And I still remember, it was Mark, who was it that we listened to in the morning?
I think it was Traver and Ashback and like the
back in the day, right? So we would listen. Like that was the beginning of my knowledge in sports. Was the Sports Animal when I was 11 years old.
That's like learning all about sex from like HBO Real Sex, which I was there. Everybody knows, but that's not real sex, guys. It's the fucked up shit.
Yeah. But like, it's crazy that you mentioned that, just because like it threw me for a loop, because who would have ever thought when I was 11 years old that the Oklahoma State Thunder would be in Oklahoma City, and podcasting would be in a way almost bigger than the Sports Animal, because it's crazy to me, man. Like if you think about where the country has gone and the fact that we're sitting here now with Jared on the phone, who lives in Oklahoma City. Mark lives in Texas. I'm in Maryland. We've had people on here that live all over the world, and Germany, France and Germany. And it's just crazy because like when Mark and I started this, it was all about connecting everybody. Like we want to be able to have friends. And Jared, you said yesterday you thanked us on the podcast for having you on and hanging out. But like the reality is I struggle to write anything back, because like I'm the one that's grateful, man. I'm the one that's grateful for you, and I'm grateful for Unk and all these other guys that we've had the privilege to have on here, because you guys mean something to me. And the same thing is with Mark. When we get off the phone calls, Mark says the same thing. Like, you guys mean something to us. And so again, thank you guys, man. We appreciate every single one of you guys. Tomorrow we'll be off, but we'll be back on Monday, hopefully, knock on wood. So,
and I just want to say, like, everybody out there who's listening, who isn't sure if they want to call in, like, it always goes a little rough the first time, like Jared knows.
Always.
Like, so it's all good. Like, we're good with making mistakes. We'll end up, taking the awkward knocks. We want to make this for everybody. I think there's a lot of people out there who think their voice is important, and I don't want to be one of those people. I think that your voice is important, and if you guys have like something that you want to say, we want to hear it. And
absolutely, man.
I hope that we can create a platform where hundreds of people feel like they can influence it with their voice. And I appreciate Jared and Unk and
you guys are the pioneers, because when we have a ton of people calling in, you guys will be the ones that made it comfortable for everybody else.
Sombra, yeah,
you guys are the
OPs, and this is the summer, this is warm-ups, but we know how wild it gets during the season.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. I cannot wait. Season time's coming fast. So thank you,
Yeah,
Jared.
you got to stretch before the season.
That's right. That's right. All right, stay on here with us, Jared, and we're gonna talk to you as we get off here. So